Okay, welcome everyone to today's UX design and theory workshop. So we'll be going over for the half of the workshop a lot of UX theory and kind of design principles and a little bit of review from our last workshops. And then we'll be speed designing. Stephen will be speed designing a Domino's app, Domino's pizza ordering app in Figma. So if you guys want to get prepared for that, Stephen will be sharing the zip files for the assets shortly. So yeah, let's get started. So what is UX design? So the user experience is how a person, the user, feels about interacting with or experiencing a product. A product is a good, service, or feature. It might be a physical product like a video game controller or a bag of potato chips, or a technology product like an app, website, or smartwatch. There are many things that can make up a good user experience, and this workshop will highlight some of them. For example, for a user to have a good experience, the product needs to be usable, equitable, enjoyable, and useful. Let's break that down. To begin, user experience is about improving usability or making something easier to use. This means that the design, structure, and purpose of the product are clear to everyone. So we went over this last time, but think about a ketchup bottle. Historically, ketchup came in a glass bottle. The user had to hit the bottom of the glass to make the ketchup come out. Often, no ketchup or too much ketchup would come out of the bottle. Today, the ketchup bottle has been redesigned into a plastic squeezable bottle, which makes it easier to reuse and allows users to control how much ketchup comes out. UX designers need to think about every person who uses the product. This might include non-native English speakers, people with disabilities, or people with very different life experiences from your own. For example, one user might find an app with a lot of text easy to use. On the other hand, a user with visual impairment might want different features like sound. So, considering the unique needs of many different people is important work, and thinking about equitable design is key. Being equitable means your designs are useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities and backgrounds. User experience is also about making things enjoyable to use, which creates a positive connection between the user and the product. UX designers foster that positive connection by taking a user's thoughts and feelings into account when making products. Think about ordering takeout food online. When you search for a restaurant in Google or Yelp, you can see different photos of dishes and read reviews from other people who have eaten there. This experience is enjoyable because you can make a more informed choice about what to order, leaving you feeling happier about the product. How do we figure out what makes a user happy with the product? That's where research comes in. To know how users feel, we have to collect evidence on how they're experiencing that product in real time and ask them about it too. We'll discuss this in a lot more detail later, but as humans, we want products that are useful, meaning they solve our problems. For example, if you're lost, a map app telling you how to get home is useful, but if the app can't find your current location, it's not so useful anymore. So now we know what it means to have for a user to have good experience. Why is it important to business? In 2018, the research from McKinsey and Company studied companies in three industries: medical technology, consumer goods, and retail banking. They found that regardless of industry, businesses that focused on good usability and design performed better than competitors. Basically, it came down to this. When people like a product, they use that product a lot and they recommend it to their friends. And more people using the product means better business for the company. Plus, when users have a good experience with the product, they're more likely to have a positive opinion of the company that made it. A win-win for the user and the business. So now, can you think of a product that you love so much that you shared it with your friend? If you did, that's a great example of user experience design in action. Despite all of this, a lot of companies don't understand the important role that UX design can play in improving their business, and that's where you as a UX designer come in. So now you know how to describe user experience in UX design, and you understand why UX design is important for consumers and businesses. So next we'll learn about what UX designers actually do. So we've covered the basics of what user experience design is and why it's important. Now let's discuss different roles within UX and people you might work with. UX designers come from a lot of different backgrounds. These include like marketers, artists, teachers, small business owners, cashiers, or anything really. Rather than sharing similar work histories, UX designers tend to share common skills and interests instead. A lot of UX designers have a good sense for visuals, which means you recognize where an image fits or doesn't in the space or what colors complement each other. But you don't need to know anything about graphic design or even be able to draw to be a UX designer. UX designers tend to be curious about people and like thinking about how people's minds work. They also enjoy figuring out how people use products and how to make those products easier to use. So in your hackathon projects, this is probably something you want to focus on. You want the judges to know how your project actually works and how to actually use it without actually thinking. It should be a one click to use your product. It shouldn't be multiple steps or difficult to use, especially when the judges are testing your products at hackathons. So that's one thing to probably you should keep in mind. So next is empathy. So UX designers are pretty empathetic. So empathy is the ability to understand someone else's feelings or thoughts in a situation, and it's pretty important in UX. So remember earlier when I mentioned equitable design and designing for everyone? Well, in order to design for everyone, we need to understand how a person might feel or what they might think in any situation. So just like a lot of UX designers don't share work histories, they don't always share educational backgrounds either. So a lot of UX designers learn on their own by taking courses, or you can do workshops like this one and teaching themselves the skills they need to get entry level jobs, or probably internships in your case as a student. They're pretty resourceful too, tapping their experience from other jobs or hobbies to build their foundation for their careers. So now that I've covered common characteristics of people drawn to UX design, now let's explore what those UX designers actually do, and especially what they would do in your team. So when you think of the word design, you might think that's all about the visual aspects of a product, or in case of hackathon projects. But it's only a small part of what UX designers might do. In fact, there are many different kinds of UX designers, so you might be into interaction designers, visual designers, or even motion designers. So interaction designers pretty much focus on designing the experience of a product and how it functions. They also figure out how to connect the user's needs and the business's goals with what's actually feasible to build. For example, as a interaction designer, you may be responsible for defining the user experience for security and privacy related tools. In the world of interaction design, users always come first. And this is something you should keep in mind in your projects as well. So, for example, in the hackathon tracks, if you have different goals, like instead of business goals, it would be what the hackathon tracks are. And you need to connect your project directly with that track. That shows how prominent you are in your project and um, how accurate you are to the description of the hackathon. So there are also visual designers who focus on how a product or technology looks. This is probably what you guys are thinking right now about what UX design really is. But again, it's a lot more than that, and there's quite a. That's why we put you in teams of multiple UI UX designers to kind of bring together everyone. So visual designs pretty much just decide on logos, illustrations, or icons. They can also do color and size, or work on product layouts or app or website layouts. In other words. So next are motion designers, which are another common type of UX designer. They think about what it feels like for a user to move through a product and how to create smooth transitions between pages on an app or a website. So again, you probably know about motion designers and the visual designers, but yeah. And then lastly is graphic designers. So similar to UX designers, the graphic designers creates visuals that tell a story or message. So I want you to focus on creating a story or message with your projects. Because if you don't have any kind of message or story, like for example, in your videos, we've seen a lot of videos for hackathons that don't do well because they don't tell a story. You need to tell a story about what the user is kind of like experiencing or what type of scenario they're in and how your product or service fits that criteria and fixes that problem. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Or they also design like posters and invitations, but that's not really that important for what we're doing at hackathon clubs. That's more if you're like actually working at an internship or at a real company. So next is a product development lifecycle. So this is probably one of the most important things that everyone needs to learn, whether you're in design, software dev, web dev, testing, everything. It's where pretty much everything comes together and the cycle of a product. So it goes from brainstorming. So probably like 2 days before your hackathon, you would be brainstorming a couple of ideas for your project. And then you would like define what specific thing you would be doing. Then you would be designing. Then the UI designers would be designing on the first day. and possibly then testing the designs and actually coding it out with your software devs on your team. And then lastly, launching your product, which in a hackathon term would be creating your video and actually showing it off to the world. So the thinking stage is the brainstorm stage, where a team starts thinking of an idea for a product. Your team might already know the user problem that you want to solve when you begin the product development lifecycle. For example, in hackathons, there are different tracks of prizes that you may aim for. If not, coming up with a list of user problems is a great place to start. But usually there are tracks, so you probably don't need to worry about that. So it's important to pay attention to the diversity of your team. So teams that have like lots of diversity across identifiers like race, gender, abilities, family structure, and ethnicity are generally more effective at brainstorming because they bring together a lot of different lived experiences. So like if you're designing an app to help working parents in a hackathon, your team might start the brainstorming stage by, listing a few problems that working parents face, like a lack of reliable childcare, transportation, concerns, or like trouble managing busy schedules. So your team might review user feedback about other products, and kind of maybe might even do surveys before hackathons just to make your idea nice and secure. So after you brainstorm lots of user problems, your team pretty much chooses one and starts coming up with ideas for solutions to that problem. So the second stage is narrowing it down or defining. So if you are working on your project where UX designers, UX researchers, everyone pretty much brings together and kind of contributes to this and kind of choosing your main idea or focus. So with all of the data you've collected from like the surveys you may have done, you now decide who is the product for, what will the product do, and what features need to be included for that product to be successful. So you want to have a very clear goal. So in my experience in hackathons, like me, Andrew, and other team members, we always really focus on this stage and kind of create a Google Doc, which is what we suggest. So creating a Google Doc with all of the listed features and what each person of the team is going to do. You want to really define and make sure that no one on your team is slacking off or kind of just, not doing really anything on your team. You want to make sure your idea is really, really defined here. And it's pretty important. So next, your designs move on to the test stage. So UX designers work with the developers on your team to develop functional prototypes that match the original designs. Hopefully you guys have had some experience with this with your projects. That's why we team you up with software developers and designers on your team so that you guys can all work together to create a pretty cool product. Or if you don't know how to code yet and you can just want to test your designs earlier as your main project for your hackathon, you can just use a prototyping tool called Figma or Adobe XD, which is quite a bit easier instead of actually coding it out if you don't have that skill yet. So lastly is your final stage, which is launching the product. And this is where you might, if you are turning your project into a startup, this is where you would launch your app or onto like the Google Play Store or Apple's Play Store, making a website go live, or possibly even doing like a physical product. Sometimes there's hardware projects and stuff, so that's another choice. But in a hackathon scenario, this probably means, especially in like a virtual hackathon setting, this is probably means like recording your video, as you might not be in a startup company stage just yet. But yeah, in terms of like physical products, this would probably mean when you're actually going to your store or you're talking with like other people who want to buy the product and kind of showing it off. It's pretty much just launching your project. It's pretty straightforward. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that after your launch stage, you should always cycle back to the design and test stages to start working on the next version of your product. So this is quite important for hackathons because if you finish a little bit early in your project, it's very important to actually test each feature, that it works, and that the judges kind of know what the project is and isn't. You want to make sure that it's very clear in the video, and every single person in your team needs to come together to just make sure everything's good. So that's that. So now we're going to talk about good vs bad designs. So below are the browsing screens from two different pizza ordering apps. I think Steven will be designing one right after some theory is done. So can you guys analyze the two apps and tell me maybe what is good, what is bad in terms of like equitable design, usability, etc. Like which one has a better user experience and why? So if you guys could put it in the chat, that would be pretty cool. I'll just wait for like 2 to 3 responses in the chat. Hopefully people respond, or else I can just continue. So you guys want to think about equitability, usability? Yeah, left one is God. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but why? You have to think about in terms of equitability, like which one is more accessible for users? Because it's organized, yeah. Facts, yeah, that's true. Poor finger reach, yeah. Very readable, follows a clear theme. Yeah, exactly. So, for example, one app has a translation feature that allows users to view its text in different languages. So the Foodie Land one, of course, also has the speaker button, which is more accessible. So you might also note that the translation feature in the app is an example of a more equitable user experience, and the other app feature is an example of a less equitable experience. So remember, a good design depends on the needs of the user. Therefore, it's important to define the user and understand their needs first. So for this activity, the user is interacting with the app. The user that's interacting with the app is a young teen named Arjun, for example. So Arjun is hungry and wants to find a local delivery app that is easy to navigate and has clearly labeled features so they can order without a hassle. So Arjun is dyslexic, so they would like the app to have text as clear and easy to read. So exactly what Avril and everyone else said, it's very readable and follows a clear theme. So next is a pretty important part of UX design, and that's called a user story. So whenever you're working, especially in like real life, at least in my experiences, in like small companies and type of stuff, user stories are very important. They might not be that beneficial for actual hackathons, but user stories pretty much define is a user story is a one sentence story told from a particular person's point of view that pretty much says how they think and what they need. So remember how they think and what they need. You really want to make sure you have a solid understanding of the end user. So we'll learn more about user stories in future workshops, but for now, let's check out Arjun's user story on the slide, and then we can evaluate the two food delivery apps for good and poor user experience. So the user story for this one is as a hungry person who wants to order food quickly. So that's the type of user. I want to. Remember, it's the I want to. You're thinking in terms of the user. So I want to find a local delivery app with simple navigation and clearly labeled menu options. So that, what is the benefit of the app? I can find what I want and order it without spending too much time in the app. So again, as you pretty much all said, layout is organized in the other one and it's a lot more clear. So which app's user experience is more usable and why? Good features. The Foodieland app has a search bar, filters, and demonstrates restaurant reviews and is easy to navigate with clear buttons and consistent interaction patterns. So again, pretty much from all you said, I think you pretty much all get it, hopefully. And the second one, good features are that Chow House app has pictures of the food, which is pretty much it. And then the bad features are that the Chow House app has hard to tap buttons. So as you can see, like at the bottom, it says order it now. You can barely even touch it. And again, like thumb reach or finger reach is very bad for this one. It has very poor design, confusing navigation, etc. So even like the fonts and color choices is pretty bad as well. As you can see, like if you look at the bottom here where it says soda and pizza, the pizza, which is the food item, is in a different color. And it just says pizza 3, pizza 2, pizza 1. Like, how would you know which pizza you want to get, right? So you want to make sure it's pretty descriptive in your design. And you don't want to make it overly descriptive, but you want the user to know what the product they're getting in 2 to 3 words max. So, in terms of the overall, the Foodie Lambs apps UX is more usable than the Chow House apps because it has a clear design and is easier to navigate. So, which app is more equitable and why? So, this is probably one of the most important things about UX, in my opinion. Equitable because everyone needs to use your app. You can't just say you can't use this app because you're blind, or you can't use this app because you're deaf, or you have a disability and you can't use it. You want everyone in this world to use your app, right? So, the Foodland app has a clear, bold font that's easy to read and has an audio description option that makes it more accessible. So that's another thing you can use. There's lots of APIs and stuff you can use for your projects in the future to make your apps more accessible. Like for example, me and Andrew right now are working on this project called Distic with our team, and it's pretty much what's it called? Equitable job search platform. So we're really thinking about the UX and UI in our app, and we're really making it so that people of all ages, people of all disabilities have clear accessibility with our web application. And we're going to be using lots of APIs in that as well. Sorry. So that's something you guys can consider for like future projects. APIs. I know Google has a lot of them, and you can probably just search them up, like text to voice or Google Assistant. There's ones. There's a lot. You can just search them up. Pretty readily available. And then which app is more equitable? The bad features. There's no good features for this one, obviously. The Chow House app menus are written in small cursive text, which is difficult to read. It also doesn't have any audio description options that would make it more accessible. So, overall equitability, the Foodieland app's UX is more equitable than the Chow House apps because its design makes it more usable to a wider range of users. This is due to its audio description feature and larger, more easily readable font. So which app's UX is more enjoyable to use? So enjoyable is more about like the visual aspect and the layout of the app. You want to make sure that everything is cohesive and clean looking. So obviously the Foodieland app is probably better. The Foodieland app demonstrates descriptive food photos, ratings, and big bold UX elements. Then obviously the Chow House app has a few photos and no reviews with no clear indication of how to learn about each item or how to actually purchase anything. It's confusing and unusual. And lastly, overall is more enjoyable than the Chow House apps because it helps users make a more informed choice through star ratings next to each menu item as they browse and order, and users have the opportunity to participate in a community by reviewing food. It's bold, bright, and clear. Now, the last three kind of words there, bold, bright, and clear. Those are quite important when you're doing your projects. You really want to make sure everything stands out in your project. And the UI UX is where the judges really see, okay, did they really try in this project, or is it just a quick app someone just threw together with like zero responsibility for design, and like the judges don't even know how to use it. You want to make it bold, bright, and clear. So lastly is which apps is more useful. So the good features are the problem a food delivery app is trying to solve is how do we help users order food they'll like from a nearby restaurant. The Foodieland app has prices, a clear cart button, a search bar to help users find the food they want, and a rating system to help them make a more informed choice. So obviously you want to, in all of your designs that you do in the future, you want to make sure your apps and web apps or whatever you make have informed choices for the user. If even if like the app looks amazing but doesn't have any clear indications of what the buttons do or like really any layout that is informing, there's really no point in your design no matter how hard you try on it. Informing is the most important thing. So in terms of the other one, obviously the Chow House app has prices but no search bar, no rating systems to inform whether the food will be good or not. It's kind of a blind guess at what you're ordering, which is something you never want. And overall, the Foodieland app UX is more useful than the Chow House apps. Yet it solves the problem of helping users order food they like from a nearby restaurant. And again, user stories will really help with this part, and we'll probably go over it in a future workshop because it's quite a big thing, user stories, and there's tons of things you can do with them. But yeah, user stories are quite important, and you really want to make sure for now you just kind of understand what the problem is you're trying to solve. So as soon as I would suggest get on your hackathon. I think it's in 2 weeks now. If you're doing it, I would suggest to right away look at the tracks and saying, like for example, if the thing is if the track is environment track, right? You want to make sure what problems are there in the environment and how can we solve them. Now, don't even think about the how yet. What is the problem? You want to define the problem in one sentence, and then you want to start brainstorming. So again, going back to the product development life cycle, that's probably you can probably follow that with your team, with all of the software developers and the designers on your team. So that's it. Won't see you next week yet, but well, now we have a Figma workshop. Uh, with Steven here. So, Steven, you want to share your screen? I'll stop streaming.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
just a second. Um, know
Yeah.
if it's like laggy or anything, just make sure to interrupt me. It doesn't really matter, right? So as Sohil said, we were talking. As Sohil was talking about the design elements. I actually created this like quick dominoes design, based on like the design elements and good design types that Sohil talked about. So if you guys look in design announcements, there should be a file called assets.rar. If you guys want the Figma project to look eventually like the one that I'm gonna make, I would recommend you download that file. I'll give you guys a few seconds to do that. But for now, if you guys haven't used Figma, it's a very simple UI design app, UI UX design app. And yeah, so before we actually start, let me actually just show you guys how you create a file. So what you need to do is, first of all, get onto your Figma. I'll wait for you guys to do that, actually. When you guys are ready, just go ahead and let me know. Unmute your mic. You can interrupt me. All right, how's everybody doing? Is everybody on Figma already, or you guys need a little bit more time? All right. Anyways, that should be enough time. If you guys downloaded the assets and are on Figma, you're good to get started. So basically, this is the file that we created, and if you look at this, it's obviously very clean looking, and it has like a rating system, like Sohail was talking about, so you don't blindly purchase, and also the text, the fonts are all very readable, and there's no italics, there's no nothing. It's just very easy to read and good for any type of user, basically. So if you guys want to look at it on like a presentation level, I'll show it to you guys right here. So basically, this is your so when you go into the app, this will be your main screen. Obviously, you have to add interactions to make the app, just a lot more usable. It's going to look a lot better, and it's also just going to improve user experience, right? Because that makes the app, just look better, eye candy, right? So basically, you can click down here to return to top, and we have multiple options, and we have buttons such as browse, sort as, and more. So basically, for example, if you want to order, let's just say a beef meat pizza, you would click on this, and it would, take you here. And notice the nice transition, right? That's a major part of user experience, because that just makes your app look a lot more professional. And obviously down here you have your rating system and you have your description. So if you want to order, you would click select, and from now on, it's just a very simple system and a very simple purchase button. So for people who maybe don't even know English or have some sort of disability where they cannot read properly, right? This would be very, very beneficial to those people. All right, so this would be our final product. So let's just get started in Figma. So first of all, when you get to figma.com and create an account, you would have this screen right here. You might not have these like projects, but what you need to do is just go ahead, go to drafts, and click plus. And when you're there, make sure to select a template. You can use any phone template you really want, but for today, I'm going to be using the Pro Max template. So just go ahead and click create file, and you're on Figma. Basically, okay, I'm just gonna assume that you guys are like comfortable with all the tools in Figma. So I'll just get started into it right away. So in order to design our intro screen, which is this screen right here, you would need to obviously define the edges so you don't, accidentally put the logo where the annoying iPhone 11 notches. So we need to do from the assets that there should be a picture of an iPhone X notch. You don't really need to use this, like I said, but it's very good to use because I like having something to guide you while you work. All right, so now that you have this notch, you can start safely placing your assets. So again, going back to the assets folder, you go to File, Place Image, and then you go to Dominoes, click Open, and just go ahead and place. Oh, sorry, that's my bad. You can't place it in here, by the way. It's going to use that as a mask, and it starts getting really annoying. So you go ahead and click place image, and then click your file. Make sure to just place it. It's kind of big, so let's just resize it a little bit. Obviously, you want to make sure this logo is very readable for the user, following the good design habits. So now, when you make it the right size, for me, I'm just going to leave right here, but you guys can do whatever you want, really. Just go crazy. As long as it works, right? So now you want to make sure to put it at the right place, make sure it snaps like right there. And for our main page, we also had a like a little user box thing. So we would now go to Eclipse and just create a circle, and you would adjust the width and height here. So let's make it 50 by 50. Maybe that's a little too small. Yeah, actually that's the right size. So you make sure this is lined up because that looks good. After that, that's basically your like your top part. If you want, you can just put any random image on it. For example, let's just let's just put a picture of pizza as the image inside. Since we have limited time, I'm not going to be going through everything in like a lot of detail. But if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and like ask me. So just for example, use this picture. Sorry, I keep on clicking in the box. I'm sorry. You would need to use this picture of, let's just use this picture of pizza for example, right? Make this smaller. Basically, what you can do here is you can put the pizza over top of this, and you can use the circle as a mask. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yep. Now after you have it as a mask, the circle will be like become the frame for the picture, and now you can move around the picture within the frame. It's kind of like Photoshop when I did it with you guys last month, a few weeks ago. Yep. So moving on, creating the menu option. Obviously, you need to create the buttons and like the different selections. So what we need to do is go into rectangle and just create a button. It doesn't really matter what it is, but make sure it's underneath here, underneath the mask, so it's not inside the mask. This is a really annoying thing about Figma because like when you create a mask, it automatically goes underneath it, and that's a good thing for XD that I like. But what you need to do is around the corners. So go into the options right here. There should be a corner rounding option, and let's just put it at maybe 25. That'll look good, and let's just make it smaller as well, so it doesn't take up as much of the screen. Looking at my design, maybe that's a little too long, so we'll just leave it like that. All right, and also just to show that it's selected, just to show that it's selected, you would make it red, kind of like not too bright of a red because that just looks bad and it doesn't go well with the blue color of the Domino's logo. So now it's like that. You can start adjusting it, maybe put it right here, I reckon. Right, designing is just about going for what the user would find useful. So now if you want to add text, you can say, for example, pizza, just pizzas. You would make sure that's white. You obviously can't see it right now because it's under the actually let's make it black just so it's easier. Pizzas, then you drag it out of the thing, and then you would put that into the box. And the font that we're going to be using for this is actually the official Domino's app uses the Futura font, but the font that we're going to be using right now is called Poppins. So just go ahead and go in here and find Poppins, or you can just type it into here, and boom, it's gonna give you the font. So now let's make it white so that it creates a nice contrast with the white background. Sorry, the red background. And since the text is really thin right now, it's going to be hard for some users to use it. So you would need to change the font type. So let's make it semi-bold, for example. Now it's a lot easier to see for people who have bad sight, right? So now that you have that, you can just start actually, I don't like the size of this font because it's kind of small. So you can obviously make it bigger, and now that looks a lot more a lot bigger and a lot more user friendly. So now moving onto the side, we can give it like a gray color, obviously to show that it's not selected, but also make sure to keep it consistent because it's like a good part of UI UX design is consistency. You can't have like designs all over. You can't have like just stuff all over the place. That just looks terrible to any like normal human being. So for the for the different menu options, you would put like side, and then you would copy paste that, and then maybe put chicken desserts, chicken, or we can do drinks, I guess. Obviously this is not the official Domino's app, but now that you have these elements, you can start experimenting with them and make sure they line up. So when you drag around these elements, you can see that you can see the little like 20 check marks in them. That means they're the size in between them are lined up. So you would move this around, make sure it's centered, and I'd say that looks pretty good. So Uh, from now on, actually, I don't think that's centered. That is okay. Okay, so now that looks good. So now moving on to the little individual parts. This is going to be hard a little bit because you have to use like really complicated masks, but doesn't really matter though. So basically, what you need to do is create a rectangle, make sure it's out of the original mask, and just leave it as gray for now because that's how it is. And make sure to find a place for lineup. And you can obviously use these to make the radius more, like you can to round the corners. But obviously you want a consistent value, so we'll just put it at 25 again, and that looks just a lot more consistent, right? So now, you obviously want the this to be a different color than the background because it's like you want to be able to see the different little sections. And actually, for the design right now, I have a different background color, so let's do that. So you would go into shape again, and then you would create this big thing. It's over everything else, but what you need to do is just drag it down. That's really it, and that's it. So go to fill because this is like a really ugly gray color. Sorry. Uh, there it is. Oh, sorry, I dragged it out. It's a really ugly gray color. It goes underneath the notch. Okay, so for the fill, you would make it a little bit lighter, just a really just a touch of light gray. So you can so when you make this white, you're able to see the frame on top of the layer. So you obviously can barely see it. So obviously sometimes you want to do that, but for now, just to make it easier for you guys to see, oh, why is everything selected? I will I'll just make this rectangle a little bit darker so you can see the frames a little bit more. Do that so it doesn't blend in with the background. So now that you have the frame, right? You would zoom in, and in order to make this like cool pizza effect, let's just start with the meat pizza. I actually couldn't find this image. Soho found this image and put it on here. I couldn't find the image, so we'll just use like an alternative. So obviously, positioning before we put it in, actually, you need to position these correctly. So, using good elements to design, you want to make sure it's like below half and make sure everything's spaced out evenly. So, if you put this one right here, before pasting in your second one, make sure these. If you look at the numbers, it says 25, 25, 25. That means it's all in line. And let's just create this button first, the sort as button. So basically, sorry, wrong one. You would go into rectangle, and then you would create this rectangle right here. Make sure to drag it out of the mask again because the mask is kind of it's really annoying. Basically, you would need to round the corners again, just to keep it consistent. I would put 25 again, and then to make it pop out of the background, you would use white. Again, it's a very designing is just going like off of what the user would would think looks the best, and obviously you could use some of your own intuition in there as well. But I'm not sure what this says in there. Sort as. Yep. Okay, sort as. There it is. And it's black, so we'll drag it out here. And obviously we're using the semi-bold font because it's a lot easier to see. This way you can drag it into the button like this, and then create some sort of a triangle like that. And you want to make sure everything's really consistent, right? That's my biggest philosophy, as in when it comes to designing. You want really good consistency, because if your design's not consistent, it's just going to look all over the place, right? And just to make a little drop down menu, obviously you can do this. It's pretty easy to do this in the HTML, CSS if you guys are making a web app. Make the angle negative 180 and change the color finally to black, right? Actually, because I don't want to like bore you guys with this lesson a lot, what I'm going to do is just do only one column of this, and then we'll move on to like the main screen. This one should be really easy. You guys should be able to figure this one out. And I'll just show you guys how to do the different transitions. So basically, going back to our original project, at this column right here, first of all, you would need to find a rectangle. It's really annoying sometimes. Rectangle 2, you would actually make a copy of that and remember the name. So that would be the copy would be rectangle 5. And after that, you would go into file, place image, and find your regular image. So for example, we're doing let's just for example do the cheese pizza, right? So you would place that right here. It's kind of big, so we'll just resize it a little bit, make sure it looks nice, and place it right there. So obviously you're going to be using the mask tool again. So after you position the pizza correctly, make sure to place it on top of rectangle 2, which is what you're going to use as your mask. Where's the pizza? I can't find the image. Oh, okay, it's up here. Okay, you would place it above here, and then you would use this as a mask. Use a mask. Yep, nice. So now you have your pizza inside of the box. Sorry, 1 second. Let me actually drag it all up top here, so everything else below here doesn't get like caught up on the mask. What's this? Is this rectangle 5? Oh, not sure why it did that. But let's just make a copy of it again. Now rectangle 5 is out here. You want to make sure to drag it out. Just drag it out. Make sure to just not use it as a mask anymore. Just click on the mask tool again. And then the white background should show up again. And you would go to cheese and then just move it down a little bit. It makes it look, obviously make it look nice. To add more detail, just make it smaller like that. And now you have the cheese pizza on top of your the idea that we have right here. So in order to add the text, you would obviously just go to text and then put something like cheese mania or something. Obviously, you want to keep in mind the like your design elements to make sure they're easy to read, because people from all with all different types of disabilities or problems are going to start reading your thing, and then it's just you want to make sure it's good for everyone. I'm not sure which one that actually is. Cheap Mania. Cheese Mania, sorry, not Cheap Mania. Okay, it becomes really annoying when you drag it into the thing, so we'll just redo that. And then, again, I don't really like Figma because of that, but if you guys want, I can do that in XD, but Figma is a lot more, it's a lot better. So we'll just select that and delete it, I guess. Obviously, you guys can do this yourself. It's a lot easier if you did it yourself rather than watch me struggle. But cheese mania, and drag it out here, and that looks good. So you would put that into the box like that. Make sure everything's lined up properly, and that looks good. So now going back to the original design, you would need to place the price. So obviously that's just another text. So let's just quickly do that. $12. I'll just make it just a regular font and drag it out here. So now you can see the
Steven?
12. Yeah.
Anika is asking, could you use another frame instead of using a rectangle just to make it easier for the cheese pizza to stay inside?
Wait, what?
Design related.
Oh, sorry, in design related. Oh, here, just 1 second. Oh, what was the question?
Could you use another frame instead of using a rectangle just to make it easier for the cheese pizza to stay inside? Like insert another frame. Do you mean like the iPhone frames?
Yeah, I don't. That's
You
gonna
know,
be showed up as a different screen, rather.
yeah, you have to use a rectangle too, and you can actually.
Yeah, you can
It's just
elaborate on your problem. It works though. Okay. Like if you create another screen of a different size, it's gonna like another frame. It's gonna assume that it's like a different screen, and then that way it's gonna like assume that it's not on top of, not actually a part of like the screen you're working on. If you know what I'm saying. So
you're making a component, not another screen.
yeah. Hopefully that answered your question, Annika. Anyways, going back to where we're working on, we're actually running out of time really quickly. I just don't want to bore you guys because it's a very simple project, but so make sure to do it quickly. Yes, just make it any color you want and put that under here. Make sure everything lines up. It looks good, right? That looks good. So now, in order for you to be able to click on this, you would need to obviously create another screen. So I'll just duplicate the entire thing over. We'll just get rid of the cheese pizza and everything. I'll just get rid of everything here. So we'll just get rid of the entire thing. Basically, I could have selected all and just deleted, but the next page right here, if you click on this, you would get this nice screen right here. Right. So you would first of all need to create an arrow. So I think there's an arrow tool right here. Make sure the angle is nice, 180, and make sure the arcs are high. Sorry. Wait, so how do you extend the top and bottom of the arrow again, like the arrowhead?
Sorry, wait, let me just go back to your screen share. Sorry, what did you mean?
If you look at this arrowhead right here, how do you extend the top and bottom again? I don't know what's happening. I'm having a brain freeze.
What do you mean by top and bottom?
Like the arrowhead, it's kind of small right now. So obviously I want to show people so it works. It looks a little better. I guess that's fine. Yeah. Just change I just changed the like the weight, the stroke of the actual thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess you can do that in height, I guess. I don't really use like arrows that much, but like obviously make your arrows really big so it looks good and it's easier for the user to use this way, right? And make sure to make it not look so goofy because obviously making it look goofy is bad. And so here's the most powerful thing. In order to make this, you would need to obviously use the mask tool again. So you would need to this time you will actually need to create the image on top of the actual screen. So you go to cheese, and then make sure to place it inside the screen. So now you have this cheese pizza stuck inside of the screen, and in order to adjust it, you would need to what's going on? Where's the pizza? Okay, let's just do it the old traditional way, and just drag it in here this way. Uh, Again, Figma is really finicky. I'm not sure why this is not working, but this way it's a lot easier for you to adjust. Oh, maybe that was why the cheese was outside of the thing. So now after it's inside of the frame, you would resize it, make sure it looks nice on the side. Ooh. And make sure not to resize it so much that the side cuts off like that, because that looks pretty good. It looks pretty big. Obviously for food, like food related stuff, it's a lot better for you to it's a lot better if you make it big so then so it so like it attracts the consumer a lot more. So now we have the pizza, we can add the name and the rating system. Like Soho said, because it's very important for you to know like for the user to know what you're getting. So beef, for example, let's make it like relatively big because it's the main thing in the page. So you would go to beef, sorry, not beef, sorry, cheese mania, right? It's a lot bigger. You obviously want your stuff to be as big as possible, but not look so goofy after all. Okay, so what we did right here, we actually didn't do the shift, right? The enter right here. So that'll look good. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller because it's starting to look a little goofy. 30 right here, I guess that works. That looks pretty good. So now you would just make sure it lines up. Not sure if you guys can see the snapping lines here, but Cheese Mania, right? So now you have the pizza in your name. Let's actually move it down a little bit so it looks a little cleaner. It has this UI design element. Sorry if I'm talking a little quiet, by the way. Just make sure to remind me if you guys know. And to add the rating system, just go ahead and create 5 stars. Honestly, make them make them nice, make them the right size. I shouldn't be telling you guys this because this is just like common sense of design. And make them yellow. Ooh, not so bright yellow though. Make them like a nice golden yellow color. So now, so that people know that this is a very good product. So let's just line this up right here. Make sure it looks nice. You want to make sure that it looks nice to you before it looks nice to anyone else. So just go ahead and copy paste this multiple times. Make sure the part in the middle looks good. Obviously, in an actual design, you would take actual statistics and replace the start data with this. But for now, just as an example of the design, you will put it right here. So now you have the rating system, so people know that it's a good food product, and they are just not blind buying. sorry, sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. So now we have the rating system, and people know that this is not just a random buy. You would need to add a description, right? Like just a really simple description. It's just really, this should be common sense. Like the best pizza ever made, and obviously you want to make sure your the color of your text, starts varying a little bit. I know this one you guys aren't going to see a lot, so we'll just make it like we'll just keep it black. But usually you in the actual design you would make it. Uh, Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to delete this into the. Matter of fact, I'm just going to delete. Oh, not that. I'm just going to delete the background rectangle. So now you can actually see the gray text a little bit better. So the best piece I ever made, make sure it's lined up properly, and make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just taking you through the design process of just a designer in the middle of a hackathon or anything really, and make it just a little bit lighter, so it like contrasts with the white background. And that's your description. After your description, you can add your heart, which is I included that in the assets folder. Sorry. So in order to make the heart, obviously you want to make it a button. So make it 60 by 60 maybe. We'll put it right here. And basically, yeah. So instead of like, okay, I hear people leaving, so I think I'm gonna assume everybody's getting bored already. I know it's designing is kind of boring, but you just gotta make sure everything's like in the right place. So obviously, like that, you would just make a button right here, and that would say like purchase or something. So let me just make something really quickly, like that. So okay, select or something like that. Here, let's just put that in here, and make sure the button is red so it captures the attention of the viewer. Obviously, you would probably want to use the same color that you use here, so we'll actually copy the hex code here, and then put it in here, so it looks a lot more consistent. And to fill the text, let's make it white, just for consistency. And finally, that's your cheese pizza page done. All right. So basically, now this is the important part. This is what you guys have been waiting for. I was dragging that along. That took a long time. I'm not sure why it took me so long to explain, but this is how you do the transitions. If you guys don't know already, basically, what you need to do is go ahead and select a page or anything. Just go to prototype, and because I want this big block, when I click on this big block, I want to go to this page right here on the right. I would take this rectangle, copy it, paste it, and then make sure to drag it out of frame. Actually, drag it above everything, so then it's like a layer above, right? It's like a layering, basically. It's a transparent rectangle. So now you would click use. You can use it as a component. That's what I usually do. But you don't really need to. I think basically what you need to do is go to you would usually be on design. Up here it will say prototype. So just go ahead and click prototype and click plus interactions, and it should automatically give you tap and then to none. Go ahead and click on this. You can make it so that it's on tap or covering. Clicking a key on the keypad and more. So here's your destination. So you would say navigate to, because you're going to a page and not scrolling to, and you're navigating to Promax 2. You should probably name this, but we'll just leave that there for now. Naming it is probably a good idea so you don't get like lost when you're in the middle of designing your own thing. And animation, make sure to don't make it instant. Instant kind of just looks ugly. Make sure to put it on smart animate, and it's going to look a lot better. So if you go to present right now, you're going to be faced with just this design right here. Just wait for the image to load, and when you click on this, it'll put you through here, and it'll put you through here. And obviously, we now don't have a return, and clicking on the return doesn't really do anything. So that's what we'll do next. So you would go to rectangle, make sure to go onto this, just create a random rectangle, make sure it's like a really appropriate size, and put it around this arrow. Now what we need to do is go to design again, make sure this rectangle is transparent, so just drag it transparent right here, and leave it the way it is. All right. And what you need to do, go to prototype, in there, interactions, tap, and then you would go to navigate to. And since you want the back button to go to the original, like the home page, you go to navigate to home page, which is Promax 1. Now you can do stuff like this. So if I refresh this page, that should take you back. And obviously I forgot to put animations on that, so let's just go ahead and do that. Instead of instant, we'll just make it smart animate, and it looks just a lot cleaner. Just show you guys the always use smart animate unless you're doing something that's really that you like require as a slide in or something. But because smart animate just makes everything looks better. When you click on this, obviously it goes in here. That will usually be the heart label, and then select will take you usually to something that looks like this. That's everything you would need to know to make a really functional and nice design. And obviously, you want to make everything consistent. The background here is great because just because I want to show you guys, like, make sure the everything showed up a little bit more. But that's basically it. If you want, you can experiment with this a little bit more. And the challenge for you guys today is for you to just make this full program if you want. So you will need to make multiple little squares of just menu options, or you can make multiple screens for like pizza, sides, chicken, desserts, and make sure when you click on each one, the red square moves over to the text, and then the menu items changes, right? So, like for example, you would be able to click on this and obviously get the exact same stuff, and so on. So that's basically it. That's just good UI design in Figma. And obviously, using Soho's example, we made a pizza app. So if you guys want this Figma, I will share a link in design related. So make sure to be as creative as you can with it. If you can make a pizza app, you can make an ice cream app, you can make anything really. You can also make this, sort as and browse stuff work. I just didn't have time to make it work. But try and make this work as well. So when you click on this, it goes back to the top if you have a long enough menu. And that's basically everything I really wanted to go over. Figma is really it's really finicky, but once you get it, it's a very simple app. And that's basically about it. Go ahead and when you guys are done, go ahead and just place your design or anything. Share your design in Product Showcase. I think that's underneath design. And obviously, the last time we did Photoshop, you guys put some really, really, really good designs. So we're really happy to see that. You guys are, we obviously want you guys to succeed. So yeah, that's about it for today's workshop. If you guys have any questions, again, make sure to DM Sohil, Andrew, I, and just any other executives. And that's basically it. Make sure to share your projects here in Project Showcase, and we'll see you guys next week for business, right? Sohil, next week is business, right?
No, I think it's web. No, yeah, it's business. Sorry, yeah, it's business.
Yeah, that's basically it for today. If you guys have any questions, again, just go ahead and ping us.
I'll
and
put
share your designs.
Attendance for today.
You guys have details. Is it on Classroom, or do you guys just post in announcements now?
I posted an announcement on Classroom.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, go ahead and just do your attendance and show your design and design related. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.